we have difficulty defining the law and even saying what laws we should obey sometimes and what laws we should not obey. For example, we have laws that regulate our driving speeds on the highways. In some states, that's simply a civil infraction. It's not a criminal offense if you drive over the speed limit. However, in some states, if you drive over the speed limit, it is a criminal infraction, and it's usually a minor misdemeanor of some sort. But the point is, the state views that as a violation of criminal law, and you suffer the consequences of it. In most states, if it is a criminal offense, the punishment is simply about the same as the punishment that you would have in a state where it's not a criminal offense. But the state tries to regulate those things. There's nothing inherently evil about driving 63 miles an hour in a speed zone where the speed limit is 60 miles an hour. So that brings up a point that's interesting, and that is that there are two types of criminal wrong. One is what's called a wrong that is evil in itself, and that's called malum in se. And the other type is a wrong that is wrong simply because society has come together in making laws and has said this is wrong. A speed limit is that type, and that's called a malum prohibitum. In other words, a wrong that is prohibited, and it's wrong because it's prohibited. But to kill someone intentionally with malice, that is a malum in se offense because it is something that is evil in itself. And we'll probably do a segment on that kind of law sometime in the very near future because it's such a fundamental part of our legal concepts. I can give you an example that most people can relate to. Let's say you live in a city where there's been a lot of trouble with people causing problems with the public water supply. They've been dumping toxins into it and swimming out in it and causing all kinds of problems. So the city council gets together and with the authorization of the state legislature passes a law that says that it's a felony to swim in the public water supply, which might be a pond or a lake or whatever. In this case, let's assume it's a lake. So it's a felony if you go swimming in it, if you wade out in it, if you enter your body into that water in any way. Well, let's assume that you're walking by the edge of the lake, which is the public water supply one day, and you see a baby out there in the water drowning. And it's very obvious that the baby's drowning. He's flailing around out there and just barely has his nose out of the water. You know it's a felony to go into the water. What are you going to do? I think that most people will say, regardless of what the law is, they're going to go out there and get that baby because they don't even have to swim out there. It's shallow enough that they can wade up to their chest, but it'll drown the baby if the baby stays out there. So what are you going to do? Well, this invokes two types of law. This deals with the law that a legislature has passed, a lawmaking authority. But it also deals with a higher form of law, doesn't it? We have a situation here where you have to make a choice between dealing with the law as made by man and this law that comes from a higher source. And most of us would respond to this law that comes from the higher source and would step out there and save that baby. Now, for those of you viewers who are jurists, you know that there are certain defenses that would arise in a case like this. There are two main defenses that would immediately come to mind, and one is the defense of excuse, which is a valid defense in a criminal case under certain circumstances, and I believe that this would be one of those circumstances. Another defense would be called the defense of necessity. The baby needed to be saved. It doesn't matter what the law was that was made by man. This baby needed to be saved. In many states, if you were to walk on by that baby and let it drown, you would not be committing a wrong. The state could not charge you for ignoring that baby and letting it drown, because you had nothing to do with putting the baby out there. The baby is not your business. That's the way the law is in many states. However, there are some states that have begun to impose an obligation on us as human beings to step in and perform a rescue when it's something that we can do.